Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. You are listening to Venus Unplugged, your virtual heartbreak hotel. This is Lorraine Neidhart. And what we do here is we explore all things Venusian, attempting to help people understand and decode her presence in your life. And myth and fairy tale and dreams are profound teachings to understanding what the Jungians called the path of individuation. And what does that mean? The path of individuation is the journey towards our wholeness. And fairy tales, most fairy tales, kind of a guidepost for that, which is why they've lasted for thousands of years, because they have archetypal realities, original. An archetype is a pattern within the psyche, and psyche is the soul. And we have a soul, but we are also ensouled. So that's part of what I do. And that's also what I do in my private practice, is I mirror the soul. I smell it, I find it, and that's how I use my clairvoyant abilities to, as a soul divination, I suppose, would be one word for it. Okay, so we are talking about, we, the royal we, I can feel all those spirits and all your hearts listening, are working on and exploring the story of Snow White, which is about love almost lost. So we left off with that queen, the evil stepmother, and her mirror. She has this talking mirror, which is pretty amazing in and of itself, but she's not exactly using it in a way to really help others or herself. So last week was all about the mirror, so you can listen to that and catch up. All right, so in this tale, as in many others, you know, we're always looking for the shadow. And it's the shadow that forces or entices the heroine or the hero to do one thing that will lead to consciousness. Nobody's going to grow without an oppressive experience. We just won't do it. And today I'm literally watching New York being inundated with snow. And it's a very interesting observation. And I feed the birds every morning. And this little bird came, and I got up a little late so the food wasn't there. But it knows, so that made me very happy that it knows. And sometimes I leave little pieces of ribbons or twigs or things because I know they're getting ready to build their nest. So I guess I'm like the Bergdorfs for birds and nest building. But I'm watching the snow, and it's nature. And it looks so gentle. New York City is quiet and still. But when you watch snow, it has a force to it. And also, as you're watching the snow in these gentle individual flakes, each one is so different and yet the same, which is also part of what Snow White is about. You can also see the patterns of air, how the wind is blowing. So we're seeing the element of the air, which is also spirit. So that's also one of Snow White's symbols. She can be a dangerous innocence, which I discussed a few weeks ago, or she can be the symbol of spirit. But also, like snowflakes, fantasies come into us. They fall. And sometimes they can be delicate and very sweet, and other times they can have a little demon connected to them. And then we have a negative inflation or a negative fantasy, or that's when we usually project our shit onto somebody else. And shit's a very good thing in my world. So it's holy, hence holy shit. because it is in the negredo, it is in the shit, it is in the unwanted, it is in the shadow that the real plot, the real energy, because that will turn to gold, the gold of consciousness. So this particular fairy tale so clearly, it's about the opposites, the shadow and light, the good and the evil, in this case, the mirroring. So rather than the positive mirror, okay, the queen, okay, and this little mirror, which in some stories the mirror can be an evil spirit, it reveals to the queen, he ain't number one anymore. So, I mean, she just loses her cookie completely. And she sends the gamekeeper, the husband, to go and take Snow White at the age of 7. So the age of 7 is remember, it's in the details. That's where the symbols are. Whether that be in your dream, whether that be in your life, notice and observe before you open up your mouth. Write about it, dance it, understand it, formulate another question. Very often, we can be so upset about something, but it's because we're not asking the question that we really need to ask. We're just assuming, or this negative mirror. All right, so this mirror, breaks the news to the stepmother, okay? In this case, and also this is a teaching myth of the goddess, okay? The triple. Anytime there's 3, the goddess is around. It's a number in alchemy, but it's also the triple goddess. So all of these hints. So this is what makes it so fascinating, because each time you read a fairy tale, and the more you know about symbolism, the more you can find the golden thread, the more profound, and you can truly understand why they have lasted thousands of years. And also you can get a hint that, you can work on one dream and its meaning can unfold for years. So it's not how much you dream, it's just working with it and understanding. So here we have it. So in this tale, as in so many like it, okay, it is the shadow that forces or entices Snow White into doing the thing that's going to lead her to consciousness. So only the integration of good and evil and the stern acceptance of the opposites will change the situation and bring about the condition known as happy ever after. What the hell is happy ever after? I never understood that one. It's like, wow. But happy ever after is when we're in an individuated state, when we've accepted shadow and light, when we've accepted our opposites, because then we can be whole. We can deal with it. We don't have to project our stuff all over the place and make a mess out of life and other people's lives. All right. So without the wicked fairy godmother or the evil stepmother, there would be no story. So she creates the plot, this dark female figure at the center, both of our lives and certainly at the center of this fairy tale. That's the goddess in the machine, okay? Because the goddess, in case you haven't noticed, it's like when she wants us to learn, she does not brook fools. I want to be conscious, I want to be spiritual, I want to be awake, I want to worship the goddess. And then our life blows up. Well, then, she's present, and she's going, really? Well, how much do you love me? Because, we need to, in a sense, be as gentle as doves and as wise as serpents if we're going to be walking that path, because she will ask everything of us. We need to be tested because her power is true and real, and she doesn't want people misusing it. So that's what these teachings are about. So it's really it's not Snow White as much as the goddess is the energy behind this. Snow White is the innocent, virginal state, meaning uninitiated state. that in all of us, men and women, okay, that is about to go on a journey into consciousness. So the true mother, by her very nature, is bound to protect and comfort, all right? And this is why she's disposed of so early in because Snow White's bio-mom dies at her birth, which is like, man, this kid is gonna, it already tells you that she's a holy child. And it is the stepmother and her cold heart, unwilling to cooperate with Snow White's needs. She's not going to help her. And she throws her, this child of 7, from the warm hearth, although there wasn't a warm heart, and the sheltering warmth of a home, okay? And she sends her out on her way, which is totally astounding. Fairy tales are quite astounding. All right, so here we have it, all right? So this is part of the secret life of the soul, which is what we're discussing here. So here's the queen after the mirror reveals, hey, you're not number one. There is a new energy coming into the kingdom, which is more beautiful. So then the stepmother, she calls a hunter and says, take the child out into the forest. I can't stand the sight of her any longer. You are to kill her and bring me her lungs and her liver as proof. The hunter obeyed and took Snow White out into the forest. And when he had drawn his hunting knife and was about to pierce her innocent heart, she began to cry and said, oh, dear hunter, let me live. I'll run off into the forest and never, ever come home again. Because she was so beautiful, the hunter took pity and said, then run, poor child, run. Pretty astounding. Now, for this queen, there was only one thing, the girl's death. That is the only thing that would satisfy her envy. And in life, that is the only thing that, when one is filled with envy, that's the fantasy. If I could just get rid of the one who I project my envy onto, then I will be number one again. Not going to work. Very often, envy and narcissism go together. But the tragedy of the narcissistic personality is it's unbearable. If you really understand it, as annoying as it is, because we know somebody's narcissistic because they don't mirror us. Or sometimes it could be our own narcissism. We're not being mirrored in a way that we want to be. You know, never tell a narcissist the truth. And God knows they have no sense of humor about their shadow. So it goes both ways. And this is what fairy tale, this particular is such a strong one, in what the opposites. There is always the opposite. And when we become accustomed to not the single cyclops of reality, a lot of people are like emotional cyclops. They got one eyeball right in the middle, and that's all they see. It's the reason why we have two eyes. So we need to see both sides. All right, so this queen, she is having nothing about this. And she wants to, so what this represents, what would this represent in our own, how would the evil queen, when we don't get the positive mirroring or we find out that something is better, we can either go like, wow, that's cool, I have something else to learn, or get filled with envy and go kill the whatever it is that we're projecting on. But what that represents is that we want to numb or kill our own feelings. So in fairy tales, killings always means making oppressing psychic content unconscious at all costs. Repression. Killing is repression. Or even if we have a dream, and there's a killing, or we read about a killing in a dream or something, wake up, man. You're repressing something that wants to live. And when something that we're repressing wants to live, it's got some strange ways of coming into our life. And if we don't want to honor it, it will go back into the unconscious. It can go back into your body and show itself in kind of archetypal medicine, in disturbances in the body. You know, there's no getting around Psyche. She's the bomb, man. So you might as well learn her way, because when we have a true relationship, she also guides us beautifully, okay? So here we've got the queen. She represses everything. Or we can repress things, or we can say, oh, you know, if only I had another person, or only if I had a heart, or if only. Something else somewhere. We want to start a new life somewhere. Well, this queen's, and the queen in all of us, we scapegoat. We can be scapegoated, or we can scapegoat. And we can scapegoat ourselves to ourselves. So it's fascinating how this all works. And so often we see in life, okay, that people hate and destroy precisely what could enrich their lives and make them happy. And it's a sad state of affairs, this thing called love, this fierce, powerful energy, this principle of Aphrodite. It's not just romantic love. That's only one version. So the hunter plays a special role in fairy tales, okay, or the gamekeeper, which I thought was interesting. It's like, gamekeeper. He does keep the game going because he's supposed to kill Snow White, and he can't quite do it. And the hunter or the gamekeeper, symbolically, like what he represents, besides the animus, in this part he's playing the negative animus. He's helping the cold witch queen, stepmother queen, okay? Not the positive, who would save her. He gives her a chance, but he doesn't really think she's going to survive, all right? But he's able to keep company with the soul of the animal in a direct way. And he talks with the animals before he kills them, and he asks their forgiveness into having to slay them. And this is traditional in shamanistic traditions, okay? The hunter stays related, and he's still related to the wisdom of nature and the sureness of one's instincts. So no matter how destructively we behave towards ourselves, images always arise in dreams and fantasy that serve life. So we can look at this, you know, when the unconscious spirit wants to become conscious. That's what our dreams are made out of. It makes use of the things in the forest. It makes things of other languages, the symbol of the soul. When we dream of animals, look up the meaning of that animal, what it represents, because there's something that's going on in you. The pure instinct, which instinct is not exactly loved in this patriarchal world of ours. So then what happens? Not only does the evil queen want her dead, but check this out. She wants her liver and her heart. She instructs the gamekeeper to cut out the liver and the heart. Now this is high drama. It's also genius in action. Since the beginning of time, the liver has always been seen as the seat of the soul. because it contains the essence of a living being. Just think of the word liver. I was livered, okay? So that's when we're creating bio, all right? So some envy's happening there. Some poisonous stuff is going on in your body. It's called putrefactio in alchemy. And that is also a very important stage of development when everything just is pukey. But it will change to something else, all right? But we have to experience and we have to suffer something ourselves or with oneself. And only to know about something are very different things. If we suffer it, not when we read about it or if we take a weekend workshop, okay, and stay intellectual. We need to experience it. And that's what pain is about. It's the pain. If we could see that when we're in pain, and we can just ask ourselves, what opposites are at the heart of my suffering? What am I really struggling with here? Because very often, creativity wants to come up and through in a new way, and tradition stops it. Or people will say, in our family, we don't do that. Okay, we're an intellectual family. We don't want a tattoo artist. What's that about? You're not mirroring the family. And there's that big old mirror, that family mirror, and that country mirror. Man, mirroring is an awesome experience. So without realizing what our suffering is about, what is at the heart of it, there's an opposition going on, and life is correcting us. And we can't get away from it, because whatever happening in our life, we don't want to listen to that. We're going to have to go to sleep sometime, and guess who's going to be waiting at the edge of your psyche to give you some hints? Is your dream maker, which is your divinity. So that's, before I leave this planet, what I would just absolutely love is to help people really, well, I do that, but I'd like to do more of it, is to really help people truly understand from an experience level the profundity of doing our inner work. It does more for world peace than anything, although the other ways are absolutely important. But it's the inner world that changes everything. And it's in this inner world that we need to understand its meaning. And people will just say, well, what is it? Well, what's it going to do for me? Which is like, I cringe when somebody says that. They want everything. What is it going to do for them? What are you going to do for your psyche? And until you're willing to have the courage, both males and females, okay, when you have the courage, the heart rage, and the desire to love yourself and to give love and to receive love, you've got to change that ego attitude around. Well, you don't have to do anything, actually. You can stay numb if you wish. But if you wish to become conscious, it's like you really have to see how important this inner language is. So it's the inner hunter who instinctively offers like phrases or insights or dreams or divination. Divination operates by the law of synchronicity, okay? Meaningful coincidences. There is something in the psyche that, even though people don't understand it, it's hilarious because I can be getting a direct message from the divine for the person who's sitting in front of me. And then they'll say, well, what do the cards say? It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, what? You just got a direct message. That was a local call for you. Excuse me. Ring, ring. Pick up the phone. Here's the divine. This is your true self. With a big S. And they need to see the cards because they instinctively understand. Oh, the cards will give them the symbolism. It has power. It's real. I mean, if I'm sitting there and just talking, it doesn't seem quite real. Until 5 years later when they listen to the tape and realize, like, holy moly. Now, that's not me. I mean, I was given this gift. It can be ripped out of my heart at any given moment. So I do not in any way take credit for this honor. I call it my horrifying honor because what you go through to know these things. And to give that. So it's interesting, but people need that mirror, or they need to look at the card, or they need to look at astrology. All of these are operating by the laws of mirroring. The heavens mirror our soul, and the cards mirror the moment. These are all very important. But this queen, this evil queen in ourselves, which comes from the negative mother complex, the negative mother complex and the negative animus. He's her henchman. That's when we can look in the mirror and just say, oh, I'm disgusting, look at this. That's the work of the negative animus. The positive animus, or anima, works on behalf of the higher self. The negative works on behalf of the shadow. Now, they both have the same value. One is not better than the other. When the shadow comes up, it's going to create the conflict. And if you take the hint and get a hold of what it symbolically means to you, you're going to get gold. But the queen's not into that. She's into, like, eating hearts and livers, which is like, whoa. But the intelligence of the heart, of this sweet heart of this young girl, okay, and the liver, she wants to devour Snow White's soul. Wow. And that's what the negative mother complex does. It devours the soul. And that's part of what we want to understand in the telling of the story. So these details, the queen with her mirror tells her the truth, which later always helps her to know whether and where Snow White is living. She asks the mirror, who's the fairest of them all. She receives the answer, which is a huge disappointment for her. And the mirror, of course, is an instrument. She uses the mirror as an instrument of her vanity on one hand. But this mirror is so much more. It's this queen's source of information about other people, a sort of higher intelligence. Once again, there goes the opposites. It can be a mirroring of the self, or it can be used in reverse. So this mirror is all-seeing, omnipotent, right? So this indicates the goddess Hecate and Luna were considered all-seeing. So I was just told I got to get off here. All right, I got to bounce. And we will continue with the gamekeeper and what he does, and cooking livers and hearts and eating it. But do honor tomorrow if it calls to you. V-Day, 1 billion rising. This is going to change the face of love. It's for dancing and standing against the abuse of the feminine, and it's very powerful. And we are in the presence, and we are making history. We're in this. See, and once that healing, I mean, if you really look at it, when the healing happens, when the feminine can be healed, we'll also have the sensitivity of healing the earth, too. So dance for the feminine and for V-Day, and tune in, or go to my website, or download the episode, or call for an appointment, 212-757-8914, and have an absolutely glorious V-Day. Bye-bye.